What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Fight HQ preview for UFC Vegas number 72, which goes down tomorrow inside the UFC Apex. Of course, I'm Jason Floyd. That is the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Good afternoon, Pete. How you doing, man?
What's going on, brother? How's everything going? Hope everybody else is doing well.
Everything's good, man. Everything's good. I mean, I feel like it's like summertime here in Florida. I mean, I know we hit May on Monday, but yeah, it's pretty goddamn hot outside.
Always jealous, but I mean, we've had some pretty nice weather up here as well. So it's kind of like, it's perfect spring weather, and usually we're still like fighting off the cold, but it's been pretty solid. So I have no complaints.
Of course, we got this fight card to break down for you here today. We'll break that down over the next hour. Not exactly the most exciting fight card on paper. We only have 2 ranked fighters in this entire fight card, and that is on the main event. We'll talk about that chalk fighter of the week over on DraftKings, as well, we all know who that chalk fighter is going to be over there. And of course, we got our DraftKings contest going on right there, right here in the link. You can join that contest. $10 entry fee. Top 3 people do pay out there. And as always, I was going to pull up last week's contest to congratulate. I should have done this before we actually started the show, Pete.
Yeah. Last week, man, it's just been a weird couple weeks. I have to tell you, it's like volatile everywhere. So like the assessment's fine, past the victory are fine. It's just people not going the best route. And also just like super volatile things. I don't know. It's just, this is what I'm so aggravated with the UFC's product right now. If I'm being honest, like it's just such low, like the low level fights that we're having to assess and break down and make a stand on. It's like you go back 5 years. I don't think we're having this problem, Jason. Like I think you and I are talking about good quality cards. I'm not over here banging my head on low-level heavyweights and, signees that shouldn't be a part of the promotion. And it's like you feel much more comfortable with the picks and your exposure levels. And it seems like the Wild West now. Like it's so volatile.
Yeah, congratulations to from_Fresno, who took down the contest last week, scoring 558 points. His lineup was Sergey Pavlovich, Bruno Silva, Jeremiah Wells, Montel Jackson, Francis Marshall. Wow, got that one in a loss and still took down the contest.
Wow. And
Brady Heastand. So he had 3 7,000 fighters in his lineup last week.
Yeah, and it was crazy, right? Like, Brady Heastand had to overcome a ton of adversity, and it looked really bad really early. Like the Bakary looked really good, and then the wheels fell off. And that's, somebody who's a grinder, who's tough, able to survive. And, the Montel Jackson waiting for the perfect opportunity to piece up Hani Yaya with that step back left hand was pretty beautiful.
Yeah, my team sucked.
Yeah, oh yeah. I didn't even know what lineup I had. So
I didn't even get 300 points.
Yeah, oh yeah, you had the horrible. I think I probably was right there with you, so I can't say
you beat me by about 50 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help when you have Bobby Green in your lineup, Matthew Schmelsberger in your lineup, Junior Taffa, Francis Marshall. Yeah, I mean, I had Christos Giagos, I had Bruno Silva, so I hit 2 of the underdogs, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but think about it, like, so the Dana Bakary one, right? Like, it looked like a KO was happening. So everything that we said looked great. Ultimately, that didn't happen. Matt Schmelsberger dropped Jeremiah Wells numerous times. And then it looked like the fight was going to be over very, very shortly. Multiple knockdowns, ones that weren't even really counted on Fight Metric. And then they just could not stop the takedown. And then it came down to, how you score the rounds. The 30-27 kind of blew my mind when he, knocked down Wells multiple times in one round. But, I mean, he literally laid on his back. Wells was in his guard and was controlled for 3.5 minutes. So, of course, they're going to give him the round. That makes sense. But it was just weird. It was so weird. I want to forget about it.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So on my podcast on Sunday, I have Zach Cummings on. We actually recorded the interview yesterday, and he has his own promotion. And I thought it was crazy he mentioned this to me. So he does shows. So he's there in Kansas City. So he does shows in Kansas and Missouri. And in Missouri, this is going to blow your mind, Pete. If you are a judge, you could not have any affiliation with any gym in the state of Missouri.
Yeah, well, that makes no damn sense.
And
the reason it doesn't make sense is these judges and referees and officials need to be educated. So if you're from Missouri, you need to be involved in martial arts and mixed martial arts and all that stuff. But I understand to a point because of the favoritism, but you're not always going to outsource it to neighboring states. So, like, to me, they're kind of shooting themselves in their foot by doing so.
It blew my mind when he said that to me, and it made me think about the Texas situation a couple weeks ago there in Fury FC, where it's like, does this guy just not understand jiu-jitsu? Does he not understand what it's like to be in those holds? And so when he told me that, I was baffled by that. But I know everyone is here to hear us talk about UFC Vegas 72.
Don't get us going. Jason and I are hot today, so don't get us going.
We'll sit here for like 3 hours just complaining about officials.
Oh, yeah. We'll complain about everything. What's wrong with MMA, the UFC, what needs to be changed, and goodness gracious. Clearly, this fight night card is watch this be my best card yet. Because I tell you what, I have to tell you, I have some like really bad feeling about a lot of these fights. But overall, good assessment. So I can't wait to break it down with you, Jason, I guess. But at least we have a nice main event.
Yeah, we're doing some fights in the UFC Apex. I mean, look, if you just looked at this card and you had no idea where this fight card was at, you'd be like, yep, that's an Apex card.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
Yeah, I'll say this. Like this is just, and we'll get down to each fight. My general thoughts when I was looking at the salaries of I think yesterday or 2 days before was the first day I looked at salaries. My first thought was, okay, Erosa Padilla, I think it's a fight that's going to be tough to avoid in terms of GPPs. Main event, tough to avoid in terms of GPPs. We got some high-end options that I think have a high probability of winning in the first round via submission. I think you can figure out who those two guys are.
Yeah.
Josh Quinlan is a finisher. Got to be a guy that I think you got to target. We got two low-level UFC heavyweight matchups. Kind of scary to me. Always take low-level heavyweights. I mean, could end the first round or it could be a boring 15-minute decision. Do you want to get to a 9,400 Stephanie Edgar? I think Charles Johnson, Cody Durden is kind of an interesting fight in terms of GPPs. And then the chalk of the week is going to be Journey Newson at 7,300. Of course, Marcus McGhee stepping up here on less than a couple days' notice at 7,200. So, I mean, that's going to be the fight that everyone's going to go after. And you made a great point. Like, if you're already looking at how you construct rosters this week, if you want to get completely different from the field, just take out the main event and take out Journey Newsom and Marcus McGhee, and you're going to be able to get very different.
Yeah, you're going to get really different. I don't know if it's going to set you up for success. I mean, I want to see what the ownership's going to be before I start to make some lineups like that. But like you're going to have a favored fighter at a broken price tag at 7,300. So you're going to have probably a minus 180, minus 200 Journey Newson sitting there over Marcus McGhee, and Marcus McGhee stepping up on short notice from the MMA lab. So both of those guys, 7,300, 7,200, somebody's going to win unless a foul occurs, which, oh goodness, imagine now. But somebody's going to win at that price tag. So they're going to allow for a ton of roster flexibility. At the end of the day, though, we would like to get 100 points from each fighter within our lineups. That is the goal. So if for some reason Journey Newson and Marcus McGhee is an absolute stinker, it's just a back and forth striking matchup. Not the most significant strikes, kind of a staring contest, low volume affair. Say they don't break. It's even tough. And even 70 points at that price tag. It just seems like it's you need a lot of other things to go your way. So I think it's an absolute must have. And then the main event, the 5 rounds surrounding one of the best takedown artists in Ricky Simón against one of the most power punchers within the division in Song Yadong. So those two fights are going to be a part of almost all of my lineups. But I would love it if I kind of got different and away from both of them. Mm-hmm. It's just there's still only 11 fights, and you have a free square here at 7,300, 7,200. So it's going to be very tough to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of, and I love to play cash. I I don't know how you avoid McGhee and Newsom and cash. I just don't know how you do it. I understand the thought process, in terms of, once we kind of see what ownership projections are on that fight, that's going to kind of lead me to where exactly I'm going to go there. But of course, if you do have any questions, we'll get all the questions we'll answer at the end of the show. Let's get right into breaking down the fights. Of course, you got the main event, Ricky Simón and Song Yadong. Ricky Simón, a -125 betting favorite, +105 for Song Yadong, 8,400 for Simón on DK, $20 on FanDuel, and Song Yadong is 7,800 on DK, $17 on FanDuel. And, look, I give kudos to both these guys for moving this fight back a week and also making this a 5-round matchup. Now, look, they do get more money in terms of doing that, Pete. But, one of the things to me as I was looking at this fight, Pete, was going from a 3-round to a 5-round, who do I believe that benefits? From a fantasy upside, I can make the case both sides. If this was a 3-round fight, I probably favor Ricky Simón more in a 3-round fight than a 5-round fight. But I started to kind of go down the Song Yadong. How many times has he been taken down? He was taken down once by Corey Sandhagen in their matchup there in his last matchup. Casey Kennedy took him down once. Kyle Phillips took him down 3 times. Cheeto Vera took him down 2 times. Cody Stamen took him down 5 times. So that to me is where, obviously, Ricky and over at PrizePicks, the takedown prop is at 4.5. When I saw that, I was like, oof. I don't know. Not a go-to play for me on PrizePicks. If I was going to play anything, I'd probably go less just because I need 5 takedowns to go more.
Yeah, so it's very interesting, and I have to tell you that I'm going to be very transparent. This week, I know how a lot of these fighters can win their fights, their paths to victory. I have a very hard time this week planting a flag and telling you which person's going to do so. So bear with me this week. I do think Ricky Simón presents some of the best takedown upside within the bantamweight division. I don't like how he's fallen in love with his hands to a point, which could lead to another KO defeat. We did see Uriah Faber catch him cold back in 2019. I think he's a much better fighter now in 2023 than he was. We did see Rob Font get taken down 6 times, but ultimately get back up and out-volume him to a decision victory. So, despite having takedown success, Ricky Simón did, he still got beat up on the feet. And, even going back and looking at some other fights, it was a long time ago, back in 2018, but Merab Dvalishvili was able to knock him down as well. That's just Merab's recklessness. This all comes down to the power of Song Yadong. I think that Song Yadong's clearly a fantastic striker. He's an ever-improving grappler and wrestler. In his free time, I love what he's doing, Jason. It's like what I make my guys do. He's competing in freestyle and folk-style wrestling tournaments because he knows, his coaches know, that is what's going to be the next step in his development. You did see Corey Sandhagen, who can land takedowns, here and there and mix things up. He went 1 of 14. So, being unsuccessful in 13 out of the 14 attempts is really interesting. Casey Kenny going 1 of 5, who's a very strong wrestler in his own right. I do think that, we have seen Song Yadong get better in the wrestling department. It was back in 2021 in March against Kyler Phillips, where Phillips went 3 of 5 in the takedown department. And I don't know, man. Ricky Simón is my guy. I love Ricky Simón. And I wish this fight wasn't happening because I feel like he's winning the fight, maybe getting, Song Yadong against the cage. He has great power. But I feel like he gets chinned at some point throughout this 25 minutes. And I hope I'm wrong because I'm a huge Ricky Simón fan. Like, if you were to tell me who are some of your favorite fighters in the UFC, Ricky Simón is a top of that list. Like, I really like him a lot. And it's hard for me when I do the picks. I'm going to be picking Ricky Simón just because I want to root for my guy. But I really think that Song Yadong, from what I've seen in that wrestling tournament, man, like, he scrambles fantastic. He's nasty. So I think I'm going to be leaning with Song Yadong to win via KO at 7,800. And it really pains me to say, but all in all, I'll be making a group on Fantasy Cruncher, and I'll be getting to probably 50-50 just because I can't make up my damn mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be hard to avoid this fight. When you talk about that Song Yadong wins via TKO KO plus 175, I mean, look, I don't expect him to win by submission. That's plus 1,000. I mean, inside distance plus 175. And if you want Ricky Simone, I think the likely scenario is he wins via decision. Plus 200 over there, but it's, to me, it's just a hard fight to avoid, just because of the price point in terms of this. And look, and you brought this point right before it showed me. Like, who's your most confident pick on this card?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those weeks, Jason, where it's just I think it's going to be Caio Borralho. I think that's who I'm going to say is my most confident play. But what I always tell you, Jason, I hate 25-minute fights. I'm probably in the absolute minority. I hate 25-minute fights. And the reason I do is because MMA is hard enough for 15 minutes. Never mind 25 minutes. It's so hard to be perfect for 25 minutes. And I think Ricky Simone has to be perfect for 25 minutes to not get chinned by Song Yadong. One right hand, I think, can stagger him and put his lights out. So I'm going to be going with Song Yadong, and I against my own judgment, I think that he pulls it off.
Of course, we appreciate everyone tuning in to Fight HQ. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up button. That really does help the algorithm a lot as well. Of course, you can join our free Discord channel, which is always a great conversation in there. I know we got some questions already in there for the show. We'll get to those towards the end of the show. You already mentioned about the co-main event, Caio and Oleksiejczuk. Caio a minus 370 betting favorite, plus 295 for Oleksiejczuk. Over on DK, Caio is 9,500, 23 on FanDuel, and the Oleksiejczuk 6,700 on DK, $8 on FanDuel. Pete, like, I don't think this is a really hard fight to really break down. Like, if you tell me this fight hits the mat, I know who's winning. You tell me someone's getting knocked out in the feet in a boxing matchup, I think there's value on the underdog here.
Yeah, I don't think that Michal Oleksiejczuk's going to win any other way than by knockout, in my opinion. So if you're going to play him from a betting standpoint, you might as well just take Michal Oleksiejczuk to win via KO TKO, which sits at plus 650. So Jason brought that up to me prior to the show, and I think that's his only path to victory, because Caio Borralho is a fantastic striker, more of a karate guy who likes to be evasive and throw counter shots, but he's a fantastic jiu-jitsu practitioner and understudy of Damian Maia. Very dominant with his control, as we've seen in his UFC tenure so far against Gaji or Gagiev. That was a great performance where he had a decent amount of control time, 10 minutes of control time, followed it up with 10 minutes of control time against Armin Petrosian, went 4 or 5 in the takedown department. Had 10 minutes in that one as well. 5 minutes of control time against Makhmud Muradov with 1 takedown. The issue is he hasn't found that finish yet. And primarily known as a finisher outside the UFC, Caio Borralho is my guy. You guys know I like him a lot. I think that certain styles will make certain fighters overperform, or they have no choice. You're either going to melt under the pressure of Michal Oleksiejczuk, or you're going to counter that pressure by, colliding forces with a counter shot down the middle en route to a fast KO TKO, or you are going to go and get a takedowns immediately, and tons of them. Like, you can go back and look at Michal Oleksiejczuk against Jimmy Crute, and Jimmy Crute actually in round 1 pulled off a victory via submission with a Kimura, but landed 8 takedowns prior. So that is fantastic to me. I see that, and I'm like, okay. And he was also submitted against OSP, one of the most low-volume guys out there, in the second round due to a Von Flue. So I think the pressure of Michal Oleksiejczuk is going to make Caio Borralho overperform DFS-wise, because I don't think that it's just going to be another control-oriented performance. If he has another control, cage control, no submission, 9,500, I don't think he does it. I think it's going to be multiple takedowns or a knockdown en route to a quick round 1 finish. So I'm paying up this week for Caio. I'm not making the mistake. I just like him. I like his prospect within the division.
By the way, before I give kind of my thoughts on this one, just thought I'd mention, you said we had 11 fights, right?
Oh, what happened now?
We've already had 2 fighters miss weight. Irina missed weight by 4. Irina missed weight by 4 pounds for her matchup against Stephanie Egger, and Hailey Cowan has also missed weight by 1.5 pounds.
I'm going to get to that, and I'm so happy. Well, I'm not happy that happened. she's had 3 camps back to
Yeah.
back to back. That's 3 weight cuts back to back to back. There's 0% chance that I was backing her today because like it's a low level women's MMA fight, but people don't understand how hard it is to go through a weight cut. Never mind 3 of them. And in one of them, she has suffered an illness as well. So like we'll get to that, but you think we'll have, catch weight bouts, or they're going to get scrapped? Kind of too tough to know, right?
Well, I mean, when a fighter misses weight by 4 pounds, that's more on the commission aspect of that, and that's probably going to come down to a doctor to say whether or not they would clear them for a fight. When you miss weight by 1.5, that's just, to me, that's more of, that's A, are you medically going to get cleared for the fight, and B, what's the percentage of the purse you're going to give up in terms of your opponent? But like,
Right, we want Jason Floyd in our corner because I already know Jason's going to be hitting them hard for that percentage.
We all, hey bro,
people get happy when it's like 15%. Jason's like, we're starting higher than that.
It depends on how, look, I'm just saying this. Like, if Pete's got to fight, his fighter misses weight. Let's just say the guy misses weight by 4 pounds. I mean, negotiations start at like 40%.
Oh, I love you, Jason. That's fantastic. Put that money in our pocket, brother.
I mean, that's where we can work our way down. We're shooting for the stars right from the start. Oh, yeah. If you miss weight by 5 or more pounds, we have 50%.
Oh, and never mind if it's in my backyard. We got all the leverage in the world. So, but that's like at the Apex, nobody has any leverage. So you kind of have the UFC's disposal.
No, very much so. But I mean, look, Kyle, to me, it's more of, and I got to him in my cash game lineup. But I feel like if you're going to get that 9,500, that probably means you're pairing him up with Jordan Newsom. I mean, that to me is kind of where it's at there. Next up, we got Rodolfo Vieira taking on Cody Brundage. Rodolfo Vieira, a -240 betting favorite, plus 200 for Cody Brundage. Over on DraftKings, Vieira is 9,100. On FanDuel is $22. Cody Brundage, 7,100. And $9 on FanDuel. Pete, another one, not really a hard fight to break down.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Cody Brundage needs to just keep the fight on the feet. Clearly, he does not want to go to the mat with Rodolfo Vieira, one of the best submission practitioners out there. We did see Rodolfo Vieira tire against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez en route to getting subbed. But I do think that Anthony Hernandez's pace is just like a relentless pace that can break tons of opponents. We did see Rodolfo Vieira, struggle in that sense and get put in a front headlock situation and then get submitted when he was almost a -500 favorite. So, it's tough to say you trust Rodolfo Vieira, but I trust the skill set that is within Rodolfo Vieira. I do think that going the distance with a striker in Chris Curtis, who a lot of people are very high on all the time, saying how he's always going to land the counter shot and always going to knock people out. I really didn't think Rodolfo Vieira looked bad in that performance at all. If I had to put one negative on that performance, is that he was very inefficient. He was 0 for 20 in the takedown department against Chris Curtis. And Chris Curtis, early on in the regional career, struggled in the takedown defense department, but has really developed that part of his game all the years at Extreme Couture. I will say in this matchup, like outside of physicality, Cody Brundage being a big guy, landing a big right hand, I don't see how he wins this fight. If I'm being honest, I think he needs to hope that Rodolfo Vieira gasses, because it's pretty proven that Rodolfo can go 15 minutes now. He did so against Chris Curtis. But anytime that you are attempting takedowns and being unsuccessful, you are more likely to gas out. But that wasn't the case against Chris Curtis. So I think that Rodolfo Vieira gets back on a win streak here. I don't hate a Brundage dart throw 7,100 play, but I think Rodolfo Vieira winning via submission is a pretty good bet. The only thing is that Cody Brundage to this point, more of a chinny, not a chinny, but more susceptible to get finished via strikes than submissions. So, but it's Rodolfo Vieira. So Rodolfo Vieira to win via submission sits at -120. Man, I wish these jiu-jitsu guys would use their jiu-jitsu to get into a very good position and utilize ground and pound, because that TKO prop for Vieira sits at +500. Just soften them up with some punches, man. Like if Naaman Gracie did that more over in Bellator, I think that he'd be even more successful.
Yeah, I mean, Cody's a guy I've had a chance to talk to since he was an amateur fighter. So, I would love to see him go out there and win. I just think this is a bad matchup for him. I really do. You got to imagine that Vieira just takes him down, submits him. And yeah, that prop bet of him winning via submission is minus 120. But, the TKO prop plus 500. And Cody, I mean, look, if Cody wins this to me, I think it's a late third round finish where Vieira, we see some of those gas issues that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, and when anybody's tired and you're attempting tons of takedowns, if you can pummel and then reverse position against the cage, they can be a sitting duck there for elbows and knees, and it just takes one elbow or knee to really prove to be the difference maker in a fight. So it's hard to project that. I'm not going to project that to happen. So I'm going to say Rodolfo Vieira wins via submission.
Next up, we got a matchup that I think is something we have to really think about in terms of our GPP lines. That'll be Juicy J taking on Fernando Padilla. Juicy J minus 150 betting favorite, plus 130 for Padilla. Erosa 8,800 on DK, $16 on the FanDuel pricing on this one. I think is off big time. On FanDuel, I don't know how you avoid this fight. Padilla 7,400 on DK, $14 over on FanDuel. Pete, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are this is going to be a stand-up war. I think that Fernando Padilla is pretty big for the division, and I also think that Julian Erosa is pretty big for the division. So they're both going to be hitting each other with some long straight punches, elongated wraparound hooks. I think that to this point it's pretty clear, and I've always said this, and I know that you like Juicy J a lot, and you love getting to him because he's always an upside play. And he's counted out more often than not, but he brings it, man. Sometimes that durability is there, and then sometimes it's not. I can't really fault him because he ate a complete head kick against Alekseeva. But if you go back and you really just dive into his record, right, he's been around for a long time. So the more wars you're in, the more miles on your body, the more likely you're going to be knocked down in fights. But this is absolutely ridiculous, okay? And tell me if I'm alone on this island. Erosa against Ishihara, knocked down one time. Erosa, Jamal Emmers, knocked down one time. Knocked down against Devontae Smith, against Julio Arce, against Sean Woodson, against Sungwoo Choi, against Charles Jourdain, against Alex Caceres. My goodness, Jason, that is a lot of damage on your body. That is a ridiculous amount of damage because that fight metric, they're pretty they're very picky with what they call a knockdown. So, when you go back and you watch this tape, he's getting chinned and he does a good job of getting back into the fight, but there's a susceptibility to getting knocked down and cracked. And I do think that Fernando Padilla, for being a prolific finisher, he's younger, has been absent from the cage for some time. This is a tough debut. They're not doing Padilla any favors. I wish they were, because I think that he is pretty solid. This is a typical welcome to the UFC, kid. Are you at the UFC level? Erosa is a very solid gatekeeper. How far has he fallen? Has this he was out bad against Caceres. So it's I don't know. That was back in December. It's April. To me, I wish he was taking a longer layoff. So with all that being said, I know there's a ton of fights under Erosa's belt. I'm going to be going with the underdog here in Fernando Padilla at 7,400. But if Padilla doesn't finish him, I think that Erosa coasts to a high-volume decision, as we've seen in the past, and still probably scores well. So I think this is a very, very good fight to target.
Yeah, I want to say, unless something has changed, I was looking at his Instagram to maybe see if anything changed. Padilla and Erosa are both represented by the same agency.
Very weird.
Well, that agency also has 100-plus UFC fighters, so it does happen.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, it's there's always going to be issues with Erosa, no question about it. That's why, to me, I think, if you're playing multi-entries, has to be one of those fights that I think you have to target in terms of getting to both sides of the equation, just because of what we've seen with Juicy J. In terms of that, then we got a heavyweight matchup, Marcus Rogerio de Lima taking on Waldo Cortes-Acosta. By the way, if you did not see the unprofessional breakdown by Sadiq Youssef this week.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, God. He called Waldo Cortes-Acosta the heavyweight version of Chris Curtis, the way they look. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. If people are not checking that out, Unbelievable. By the way, someone just asked the fight to go to sit to decision. I'm guessing that was asking about in terms of Erosa and Padilla. That is plus 150 fight goes to decision. So maybe not necessarily a bad route to go there. But let's talk about Cortes-Acosta and Rogerio de Lima. A600 on DK, $21 on FanDuel. He's a minus 180 betting favorite. Cortes-Acosta is a plus 155 betting underdog, $7,600 on DK, $10 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so heavyweight MMA, low-level heavyweight MMA at that. And, Rogerio de Lima has gotten better. He is 9-6 in the UFC. Waldo Cortes-Acosta is only 2-0, and that's against Jared Vanderaa and Chase Sherman, two of the worst heavyweights in the division. And I think that Marcos Rogerio de Lima is actually a pretty solid heavyweight, but a volatile one. He used to be a guy that if he's going up against a high-level wrestler or a good grappler, you have to be worried about him getting submitted. In the UFC, he's been submitted against Nikita Krylov, Gajimurad Intugalov, OSP, Stefan Struve, Romanov. Outside of that, like his game is getting in your face, throwing monstrous combinations, burying hard leg kicks. And I do think that the boxing stance and the boxing of Waldo Cortes-Acosta can work for him. But we were expecting Chase Sherman to go to the leg kick well, and he did so a little bit, but not how he typically does. And I do think that somebody who hits as hard as Rogerio de Lima with really, really good Muay Thai out of American Top Team, he has solid jiu-jitsu, even though he's susceptible defensively. And I do think that he has the Muay Thai advantage. The issue with him is always gassing out. But going the distance with Blagoy Ivanov, throwing 133 significant strikes in a close fight, Blagoy is very tough, despite being old and not really looking to be the most physically imposing. Like, it's heavyweight MMA. Sometimes, like certain weeks, I increase my exposure to heavyweight MMA underdogs, women's MMA underdogs, and the underdogs in the main event and co-main event. And that's kind of like a very, very cut and dry approach of how you can get different, but also target the correct volatility. I do feel like I like Rogerio de Lima here. Cortes-Acosta is a little crisp down the middle, so I worried about a counter shot, but the leg kicks of Rogerio de Lima, there is submission upside. There's also KO upside, tons of first round finishes. I'm going to be going with Rogerio de Lima. I hope that he doesn't make me look silly here, kind of planting a flag on a heavyweight. I'm going to get to Cortes-Acosta because I can see if Rogerio de Lima does gas, he can win a decision. But outside of that, I think the finishing upside clearly lies with Rogerio de Lima at 8,600.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, God, I hate rostering low-level UFC heavyweight fights. I just hate it. Scares the crap out of me.
I hate it too.
Yeah, let's move over. Next up, we got a matchup that is definitely got my eyes. That's Josh Quinlan taking on Trey Waters. Trey Waters stepping up here in less than a week's notice to take this matchup. He is a plus 150 betting underdog, minus 175 for Josh Quinlan. Quinlan, 8,500 on DK, 19 on FanDuel, and Trey Waters is 7,700 on DK and 11 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so, I like this fight. I wish that Waters had a full camp. I like the fight from a striker's paradise type of thing where Josh Quinlan throws decent volume, but has the power advantage clearly, whereas Trey Waters has the finesse advantage. Waters keeps his hands somewhat low, moves his head a lot, throws counter shots over the top, can get hurt to the body, can get hurt to the head, susceptible to submissions. He's been active, and being in the cage recently is great, but also if you take a little bit of damage, are you coming into this fight on short notice healthy, or is it just an opportunity? Standing at 6'5", having a 5-inch reach advantage can totally pose problems for Josh Quinlan. What I see and how I see this fight going is I can see Trey Waters winning the early stages of this fight, hitting the longer punches against Josh Quinlan, Quinlan having to make some adjustments, whether it's incorporating takedowns and looking to try to submit Trey Waters. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be look to get closer to him, land a power shot within your range, and then I think Quinlan's ultimately going to get the finish. But as far as DFS, like when you're that tall with a 77-inch reach, like Trey Waters with the correct game plan and with the correct coaching staff at welterweight can stay on the outside and stick and move and win a decision at 7,700 and pay off that price tag, no problem at all. But I really do like Josh Quinlan's finishing upside. The one issue that he's had throughout his regional career, and a lot of people thought it was going to show itself against Jason Witt, is the takedown defense. And I think this is a tailor-made striker's paradise matchup for him. And I think it's just a matter of time he lands that big shot against a guy who isn't the most defensively responsible fighter in Trey Waters.
Yeah, this is one of those matchups I'm kind of targeting more on the Josh Quinlan side. You know, when I'm looking at that 87 to 8,000 range and trying to find some fighters in that range. Next up, we got another heavyweight matchup. We got Martin Buday taking on Jake Collier. This is a straight-up pick-em fight, minus 110 on both sides of the equation. Martin Buday, 8,000 on DK, 15 on FanDuel. Jake Collier, 8,200 on DK, $15 on FanDuel. Pete, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts. What are my thoughts? My thoughts, I hate this fight. I like Jake Collier. I like Jake Collier a lot. Jake Collier let me down against Chris Barnett. He really did. He looked good early, looked really good early. He can get takedowns. He can put pressure on you. He can hit you with tons of combinations. He gassed out. And then when he was underneath Chris Barnett was teeing off. And that's why that was a perfect example of the volatility surrounding heavyweight MMA. When I saw that and I saw how he he let me down, so I am a little upset about that. But also just like, he wilted to the pressure. Clearly, Barnett was hitting with some big shots, but I thought that this middleweight type of style for the heavyweight division is going to separate himself, and he went out there like a heavyweight and gassed out early. And then he had that big boy Chris Barnett just throwing hammers down, and yeah, I think that he can have that middleweight style with distance and space and stick and move and hit Martin Buday from the outside, no problem at all. But I think there's a matter of time before big boy Martin Buday puts him against the cage, basically leans on him as he does every fight, dirty boxes him, doesn't really attempt takedowns at all, which is, as a big guy, every big guy should be looking to just literally get on top of their opponent, just because it's so difficult for big guys to get out from underneath them. But yeah, I think the cage control and just kind of leaning on Collier is going to result in a Martin Buday decision. I think this is going to be a sloppy fight, but I would love to see Collier come back and win after really looking bad against Chris Barnett in round 2. So I think Buday pulls it off at 8,000, but I might pass on this fight if I'm being honest. I think it's going to be very sloppy. Collier is doing fine on the outside, and then Buday kind of, alters his strategy and then wins 2 rounds of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that sticks out to you about Jake Collier, you have to go back a couple of fights at this point, but you look at the fight against John Vellante, lands 123 strikes. It gets the Carlos Felipe, which was a loss, landed 130 strikes. Landed 93 against Andrei Arlovsky, split decision, which will. We know how that goes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that would stick out to me. But yeah, I'm kind of like you. I think going somewhere a little bit different. A fight that I do want to get on a side on this one, and that's the flyweight matchup between Charles Johnson and Cody Durden. Charles Johnson, a minus 140 betting favorite. Cody Durden, plus 120. Johnson, $8,700 on DK, $16 on FanDuel. Durden, $7,500 on DK, $13 on FanDuel. Pete, this is my biggest concern. Charles Johnson, apparently he's the flyweight version of Donald Sterling at this point because he's just fight whenever they give him a chance.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't, especially in the media when you're being very vocal and complaining about how, I shouldn't say complaining, but talking about how unhealthy you were leading up to your last fight. So where's the level of trust? I don't really have a lot of trust that he's fully healthy from fight to fight. He's going paycheck to paycheck, no problem at all. He's having close bouts. Absolutely. The Ode Osborne one was a split decision. But like a lot of the times, Charles Johnson is reacting rather than performing. And we did see him perform against Jimmy Flick. But against In his debut, you can't fault him against Mikhaev. He was reacting to the 55 takedowns and all that, and was just kind of, succumbing to the pressure of Mikhaev. Against Zaga Shimagulov, like he waits so much and then he goes rather than dictating the pace and the pressure. He won that via split, but a lot of people, were a little indifferent on that decision. Ode Osborne only threw 127 significant strikes, did get taken down as well. And then when you have somebody getting taken down going up against Cody Durden, it's like, that's awesome. Ode Osborne went 3 of 10 in the takedown department. I think Ode has solid wrestling, but Cody Durden clearly has better wrestling than that. Collegiate wrestler out of American Top Team. I don't think Durden's all that good, if I'm being honest, but at least he's going to be active, and at least he's going to push a pace. So yes, he's volatile at times. Sometimes he'll run into finishes via guillotine against the fast Mikhaev. Got subbed against Jimmy Flick even after landing 2 takedowns. So like submission wise defensively, he's not the best. But like, and he was knocked down against Mikhaev, well, technically because of that knee. But yeah, it's a weird fight for me. It really is. I don't mind the value play of Cody Durden at 7,500, but I kind of feel like he gets takedowns for one good round. Then that cardio starts to, he starts to get a little zapped, and then you see Charles Johnson start to pick away at the outside and get the decision victory. So I'll be getting to Durden plenty. Charles Johnson is a guy that I'm not in love with the price. I wish he was a little cheaper. 8,700. Does he pay off more often than not for that division? I say no.
Yeah, that's I mean, I don't mind getting Durden because of the price point and the takedown upside, but like you said there, I just think in terms of abilities, I've just never been big on Cody Durden. I've just never been big on him at that point. By the way, we have 20 minutes left in the weigh-in time, and Cody Brundage is the only fighter that has not stepped to the scale. One of the fighters that did step to the scale was Irina. She missed weight by 4 pounds. Have not seen whether or not that fight's going to go forward. She's a plus 240 betting underdog against Egger. She's minus 300, 9,400 for Stephanie on DK, $22 on FanDuel. And then Irina is 6,800 on DK, $9 on FanDuel. You missed weight by 4 pounds, Pete. That's a big concern to me.
Buddy, I'm looking at her right now, and she does not look good. She looks... I don't know what the hell's up with her. She's like zombie. I don't know. It's a weird fight, right? And it's a weird signing to begin with. And I don't think that it's a good sign when you miss weight on your debut. Stephanie Egger is a talented judo practitioner, but her opponent, Irina Alekseeva, is a judo practitioner as well. So I want to see who's going to have the upper hand. Clearly, submission wise, I favor Egger. I favor her record and her resume. She's shown that she can pick up KO TKOs as well against Shanna Young. She can pick up quick submissions. She did so against Aylin Perez and Jessica Rose Clark. I think Jessica Rose Clark is pretty solid. But like this unknown Irina Alekseeva, who is coming off a decent layoff and just a random signing to the UFC, she might be the wild card on the entire fight card, and we'll have to see if this fight goes on. But I don't mind taking some dart throws at a relative unknown commodity. She throws wild punches and wild striking. Perhaps the judo background of both of these fighters negates each other, and this turns into a striking matchup more than we're anticipating. In that case, I don't know if I could confidently say who wins. But I do think that the salary of Egger makes sense. The odds of Egger make sense. But this is one of those fishy signings where I'm not really going to be completely sold. I'd much rather back a proven commodity in Caio Borralho against a fighter who I know and Michal Oleksiejczuk, who he is, rather than this unknown Irina Alekseeva. We see it every week, right? These unknown fighters sometimes that are hard to find fight tape on, which I did find fight tape on. It was not impressive at all. But there is room for development when you're coming off a long layoff. So it's an Egger pick still, but I'm going to sprinkle some Alekseeva just in case. But I don't even know if this fight's going to happen.
Yeah, as I said earlier, when you miss weight by 4 pounds, it's unlikely. It's 50-50 whether a fight happens. By the way, Cody Brundage has made weight at 185.5, so that one is good to go. Then we got the chalk fight of the slate. Of course, this was supposed to be Brian Kelleher versus Journey Newsom. Brian Kelleher was pulled by the UFC over an injury that Brian Kelleher came out and said that he was willing to fight through, and the UFC said, no, not going to happen. So now Marcus McGhee steps in as take on Jerry Newsom. Jerry Newsom minus 190 betting favorite, plus 160 for Marcus McGhee. Of course, the DK prices are already out, so Marcus McGhee is 7,200, Jerry Newsom 7,300 over on FanDuel. Of course, totally different story on FanDuel. Jerry Newsom's $20 and $11 for McGhee. Obviously, this is going to be the chalk of the slate, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, who cares who wins this fight, if I'm being honest? Just if you're playing 150 lineups, put half with Newson, half with McGhee, and just move on. They're ultimately the same salary, 7,300 for Newson, 7,200 for McGhee. There is some unknown about McGhee coming into this fight, but for the most part, it's a fighter that has been talked up highly, a part of the MMA lab. I believe in that camp. I know that camp keeps everybody ready for opportunities like this. I know that they train really, really hard. You and I were talking about this prior to the show, where it's that old school type of grind, which I like because that means that people are prepared heading into short notice opportunities. Not one of these camps where you see guys come in only for fights. We've seen Marcus McGhee perform pretty admirably when it's on the feet. He has struggled when he's been taken down and he's susceptible to getting submitted. Journey Newson is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, recently promoted within the past year or two. Very good on the mat, but this is a guy who's fallen in love with his hands, doesn't go that route. So yes, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but perhaps he struggles in the wrestling department and has no confidence in getting the fight to the ground. In the UFC, he was taken down a lot against Sergey Morozov, so he wasn't able to go, be offensive with his own takedowns. Attempted 2, was unsuccessful. Against Fernie Garcia, pretty similar matchup, right? Against Marcus McGhee, he attempted 3, landed only 2. And then another fight in the UFC, the only other fight that he attempted to take down was one time against Ricardo Ramos, who is a pretty talented Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner and Muay Thai fighter as well. So, there's a clear path to victory for Newson. Don't stand with this kid, Marcus McGhee, because he switches stances so well. He throws great combinations. If he gets your back against the cage, he will unload with a relentless barrage of hooks, and he can actually knock out Journey Newson. It's not a good look that Newson was KO'd by Randy Costa via head kick. That was a beautiful head kick. But yes, Newson's fought some solid competition, but very low level in the UFC. Morozov, Garcia, Costa, Pilarte, Ricardo Ramos, and Morozov are pretty solid. But with all that being said, I have a feeling Marcus McGhee comes in here and he catches Journey Newson when he's throwing one of those horrible kicks. He tries to be this beautiful karate fighter, and he's just, incapable of doing so. He needs to throw hands into takedowns. And I think that Marcus McGhee catches Journey Newson when he's attempting a spin and hook kick for the 12th time.
And if you want to get to know Marcus McGhee, if you're over our Discord channel, I'll put the links to 2 interviews that I've done with Marcus McGhee in the past. Did one in 2021 and did one at the end of November last year. He's a guy, as Pete mentioned, guy out of the lab. So if you want to kind of get to know who he is and as a fighter and everything else, check out those interviews. I put those links right there in the Discord channel. We'll give you a little notes here. The Edgar and Irina fight is going to proceed. It will be a catch weight. Wow. And Stephanie Egger's team's got to do a better job than 30%. I'm sorry. You got to do a better job than 30% when your fighter misses weight by 4 pounds. I mean, come on. You got to get more. You got to get more than 30%. Come on.
That's crazy.
And apparently the matchup with Hailey Cowan and Jamey-Lyn is going to continue as well.
Okay.
So I just haven't heard what the fine is going to be there. Of course, that is the only other fight we got to break down here. Jamey-Lyn is a minus 155 betting favorite. Hailey plus 130. Hailey 7,900 on DK, $12 on FanDuel. Jamey-Lyn, she's 8,300 on DK, $18 on FanDuel, Pete.
Yeah, so final fight of the breakdown, first fight of the night, complete volatility in this one. And before I break it down, just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning into Fight HQ. Each week, Jason and I break it down the fight card for UFC, sometimes Bellator, and sometimes for PFL. But make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Our goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers. For this video, I slacked on our last video. I'd like to get over 100 likes. That'd be really, really appreciated. As far as this fight between Jamey-Lyn and Hailey Cowan, I'm going to just piggyback off of what I said earlier. I don't like the fight. I don't like the fact that Hailey Cowan is now having her third weight cut in 2 months, 3 months. That's a lot. That is a lot, especially when she's a pretty physical fighter. And then she developed an illness throughout the camp or from the weight cut itself. So to me, it sounds like she doesn't necessarily know how to cut weight, if I'm being honest, or she's at the wrong weight class. I think that Hailey Cowan is always going to be pretty physical. She's a very strong athlete, comes from a gymnast and just a complete freak of nature type of background. You know how like Holly Holm is really physical? This seems like a knockoff Holly Holm, but without all the boxing and everything. She's just very physical. Hailey Cowan is lacking skill in a lot of areas, and kind of just this amateur type of style. Jamey-Lyn on the opposite end is a regional talent who's had a ton of success and primarily finds the finish by throwing ground and pound, by attempting submissions. Definitely has the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in this matchup. The fact is that she's taking it on somewhat short notice. But I do like Jamey-Lyn overall. I think that she's the better fighter than Hailey Cowan. Cowan's the better athlete, but athletes don't win fights when they're up against a true fighter. And I do think that Jamey-Lyn is a fighter that's going to put Cowan in bad positions or reverse out of bad positions and then put the hurt on her. So I'm going to be going with Jamey-Lyn here at 8,300. And, the weight miss is music to my ears of why I don't want to back Hailey Cowan to begin with. So yeah, give me Jamey-Lyn here at 8,300.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Let's get into our straight up fight picks here. The main event, give me my guy Ricky Simón.
Yeah, for non-DFS, I'm picking Ricky Simón. I can't jump off the bandwagon today.
And by the way, it's always hilarious when people call him Ricky Simon. I'm like, come on, he's been in the UFC this long. Gotta know. Co-main event, I go Kyle.
Yeah, I'm going Caio as well.
I want to pick my guy Cody. I just can't. Rodolfo Vieira.
Yeah, Rodolfo.
Sorry, Cody.
Yeah.
Cody checks out a lot of stuff I do. Sorry, Cody.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cody. Juicy J and Padilla. This is one I keep going back and forth on.
I think it's a tough fight. It's a tough debut, right? And you don't know how Erosa is going to come back from that KO.
I feel like this fight's closer than the DK salaries indicate. I think the FanDuel salaries are more of an indication of how closer of a fight this is. I'm going to go Julian Erosa, but I don't feel great about it.
Okay. I'm going to go Padilla. I need an underdog, so I'm going Padilla.
I will go Marcos Rogerio de Lima.
Yeah, de Lima for me.
Give me Josh Quinlan.
Quinlan.
Oh, God. I don't feel good about either one of these. Jake Collier.
Okay. I'm going to go with Martin Buday. You know what's crazy is for DFS, like Buday scored 91 against Barnett, landed only 56 strikes, had no takedowns, but had 7 minutes of leaning against the cage. So, like, he still scored pretty well. So, I might get to a decent amount of him more than I thought.
Next one is also another fight. I don't feel confident on either side of this equation. I'm going to go Charles Johnson, but I'm concerned about Cody Durden racking up 2 rounds and then winning a 29-28 decision where Charles Johnson comes on in the 3rd round.
Yeah, agree with that. I'm going to go Charles Johnson to win a decision, but same concerns as you. Damage versus control.
I would go Stephanie Egger.
gonna go Egger. I just don't know what to expect out of Alekseeva.
I don't know what to expect out of Marcus McGhee taking this fight on such short notice, so I will go Journey Newsom.
Okay, I think that's the safer play, and on paper, you're getting a favorite at with a full camp. So I'm gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna go with Marcus McGhee though.
Then I would go Jamey-Lyn to win in the first fight of the night.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jamey-Lyn.
PrizePicks. I've actually been playing over at PrizePicks a lot over the past couple of days. I will say this: I don't really want to touch the 4.5 takedowns prop on Ricky Simón. If I'm going to touch anything on Ricky Simón on PrizePicks, I'd probably go more 21.5 fight time minutes because I think this thing is going 25 minutes. I would stick to that one. Kyle Borralho 2 takedowns. If I was going to play that, I would say more, but my fear is he only needs 1 or 2 before he gets the submission.
He's so nasty. He doesn't need more than 1. That's the problem.
Rodolfo Vieira, his takedown's 1.5. He may only need 1.
Say more than that. Yeah, but I think more than that though, just because of Brundage's collegiate background.
Yeah,
he's gonna get back up. So I like that play a lot more than the others you mentioned.
I do. I will tell you this. I think if you're going to play the Julian Erosa takedown prop, you go more 1.5.
It'd be very smart. He's done so in the past, and he's a good submission artist. He really is. And the last time he was facing a very dangerous guy, he did so, and that was Sean Woodson, where he attempted 6 and landed 3. So, he needs to do that to stay upright.
A couple other ones that stick out to me. I like the under 7.5 fight time minutes on Josh Quinlan. Give me more 12.5 fight time minutes on Martin Buday. And then I would play the under 60.5 fantasy score on Hailey Cohen.
Yeah, I like that. Good job.
So been over there at PrizePicks. NBA's not been treating me too good past couple of days. It has not been treating me too good.
I thought I had the optimal lineup the other night. I was so close. But yeah, I got some nice future bets. Who do you think I'm projecting to win the NBA championship this year?
Don't tell me you're going to say the Lakers.
No. No, I got a nice bet on the Nuggets. I really think that the Nuggets are going to do it, but clearly I don't like their matchup right now against the Suns coming up. That's going to be a tough test, but I got them at plus 1150 to win, and now it's already down to plus 800. So.
I'm telling you, you know what the one series I've not missed a game on yet, and it is just great basketball. Kings Warriors. Here on the East Coast, you got to stay up till 1:30 in the morning and watch that game. They're so damn fun.
Yeah, it is a good matchup. It's fun, and I was surprised at how well Fox was playing with the broken finger. So, it's crazy. I avoided him for DFS that night, and I kind of pivoted other ways because I didn't want. I was like, he thinks he's good, but he's not going to shoot that well. He was shooting no problem at all. So I don't know. Break some more fingers next time, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, game 6 is tonight, 8:00. You know what I'll be doing. Whenever I get out of this office today, that is what I will be doing. Let's get into some questions. I want to go over to Scored first. That's the best way to get your questions in here. Best value plays on DK under 8K thoughts. Okay, so first off, it's Jerry Newsom's not a value because his ownership is going to be through the roof. Underneath 8,000 besides that.
I think it's still value, though.
I think, but the problem is that ownership 60-ish% or more?
Yeah, but I think it's necessary chalk. You know what I mean? It's still value because it's a broken price tag, whether it's Newson / McGhee.
Yeah.
I don't care. I think that's, I understand what you're saying though. You're gonna be holding hands with 100 other people, but it makes sense.
The other 2 fighters that stick out to me underneath 8,000 would be Fernando Padilla and Song Yadong.
Bingo. Right there. I'm right there with you. Yes.
Yeah. Let's see here. Rank the 9K fighters and the fighters with the highest upside. So if we're ranking the 9K fighters, so we've got 4 9K fighters this week. 3 fighters. Rodolfo Vieira, Stephanie Egger, and Kyle Borralho. Kyle would be my number 1. 2 would be Rodolfo. 3 would be Egger.
I'm with you. I have them ranked the same. The difference in salary is kind of screwing up a lot of my construction. Like we got no 8,900, no 9,000, no 92, no 93, but we have 95, 94, 91. So it's kind of really tricky roster construction. But I would agree with you. Borralho is my number one. Number two is Vieira. Number two is Edgar, just because of the weight miss and the unknown commodity about her opponent.
Next up says Waters being such a short notice and cutting weight 2 weeks in a row that will make Quinlan an overexposed play, and is the main event stackable being another smaller fight card. If
I was thinking about that.
I don't mind stacking the main event. I think if your thought process is that, Ricky Simon's going to kind of rack up some fantasy points in the first 3 rounds, and maybe Song Yadong takes over in the 4th and 5th round, I don't mind from that. Look, I think that the Quinlan Waters fight, because of price range, especially on DraftKings, will be a fight that a lot of people kind of turn to because of the finishing upside on that fight.
Yeah, I wish I could stack it. I might stack it and just pray it goes 25 minutes because, in the 4th round, Song Yadong still scored 49. The issue is that was primarily on the feet, and he only scored 49. And you would like to think that if it goes that long, Ricky Simon's taking him down, which is resulting in less fantasy points for Song Yadong. So I would love a stack to work. If it goes 25 minutes, I'm expecting one of the best fights we've ever seen for the bantamweight division. I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, look, this is not a great fight card overall. Main event is a very solid fight. It's a very solid fight. Sam's under number here is 7.5. Sam, you do realize there's only 11 fights right now, right?
Sam, I wish you were a real bookie because I'm taking your money, buddy. It's an under.
Yeah. Come on. Right now we got 11 fights. If you told me we end up at 9, I would be shocked.
Some days he's so sharp, and then other days it's like, I don't know, silly Sam striking again.
Yeah, he literally says over under 7.5. Bet you guys are going to take that under. Sam, tell me what is the limit at your book, and I am just rolling the brink struck up.
Too funny, brother.
Yeah, now watch every fight's going to end via finish. Favorite core plays. Kyle Borralho is one. It would be a core play for me.
You're going to get to him a lot?
I'm going to try.
That's the thing.
My concern is I know I'm going to have either Newson or McGhee in a majority of those lineups, and probably Padilla or Durden in those lineups as well. Yeah.
Okay, so the issue for me is if you're completely 50-50 on a fight, right? Like, Newson and McGhee. Okay, you got 75 lineups with each. Say you're doing 150, and then you do the same exact thing, okay, for the Song Yadong, Ricky Simon. So now you're talking 37 lineups with each of those possible winners. So now you really only have 37 live lineups if, let's say you got everything else correct. That's the one issue when you don't take a stand and you just take a neutral 50-50 approach. So I really think that the way for me to get different is locking in Caio Borralho. I know he hasn't done it yet, 75, 80, and 77 points, but how the hell else am I going to separate myself? I need a big score, and I do think that the pressure of Michal Oleksiejczuk is going to bring out the best of Caio Borralho, or he's going to get melted underneath the pressure, one thing or another.
Your favorite top 3 parlay pieces? We know one of the parlay pieces, so what will be the other 2?
Rodolfo Vieira. Who the hell do I pick for the next one?
Whew.
I really want to say Lima, but I just can't. I have to make that rule and stick to it.
Okay, you know what I'd probably say? I think it's juiced like minus 205. The under 2.5 on Erosa and Padilla.
The issue, though, is if Erosa goes out there, he's known for winning decisions by being just a more high-volume guy.
I'm looking at it. You're looking at minus 160 as the under 2.5.
Charles Johnson / Josh Quinlan.
Yeah.
I might go Quinlan. I think I have to go Caio, Rodolfo, and Quinlan. I don't hate it. It's super chalky. I don't like it either. But that's if you had to, you know, tell me I must make a parlay. I guess that's what I would go with at this moment.
In terms of leverage plays, and we're going to see how kind of how ownership goes here. Jerry Newsom obviously is going to have high ownership. I'm interested to see what Marcus McGhee's ownership is coming in at. That could be a potential interesting ownership play. If I was going to look at some other potential, just kind of looking at what I'm seeing right now, Erosa is a kind of an interesting leverage play just because he's not getting a ton of ownership.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the update, and I want to know, where's everybody going?
Yeah.
Where's nobody going? I would love to see where nobody's going because at the moment, it seems all about. It's just weird. It's weird. I think we're going to see a lot of fluctuation come tonight into tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things of trying to get different, and like we mentioned earlier in the show, the way they get different in GPPs is going to be getting away from McGhee, Newsom, and getting away from the main event. If you can do that, I think that's going to allow you to get very much different. Top dart punt play. The punt play for me would probably be. I don't want to go there. Guys, I mean, if Oleksiejczuk's going to pull it off, he knocks him out, but I just don't think he does it. I don't really love Brundage at 7,100. I mean, it might be Irina, but I don't like her missing weight by 4 pounds. That scares me.
There's just so many unknowns surrounding her. I'm going to say that the punt for me is going to be Marcus McGhee catching Journey Newson, who's too busy striking when he should be grappling. Going to be, regardless, there's probably going to be 30% at least on one side and probably 60% on the other. I'd probably say 10% of the field has neither. And that's a way to get different, but I don't recommend it.
In terms of captain MVP champion plays, I will tell you this. So Ricky Simone does stick out to me just because of fantasy score upside if he's able to get the takedowns. But I'm going to give you kind of an under the radar MVP. Okay. And it's gonna count on him going out there and probably getting a win in the first round. Marcus Rogerio de Lima.
I love de Lima, but do I? I really want him to do well. And I think that the style I've seen, he doesn't lose to these guys. He loses to people who sub him. I think that he's going to go out there and shut the lights out and pick up a win over Cortes-Acosta, who has been knocked out and finished numerous times in his boxing career. So it's like in MMA, he's fine, but he has tried to be that striker and struggled in the past and chop the legs. And when he's a sitting duck, just unload those hooks on him and knock him out.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking over. Kevin over on the YouTube says, if doing 3 entry max, should you just pick one side and do it all, or do it in all 3 of them? If so, McGhee will be lower owned, so maybe him. In a 3 max, this is what I would personally do. I would have 2 of the 3 lineups that have either both of them have Newsom, or you do 1 and 1, and the third one you stay away from that fight to try to get different from the rest of the field.
That's the only way in a 3 max, right? For most, majority of it. So, if you only put 2 out of your 3 with that fight, okay, 67%, the field most likely is going to have 90% of that fight. Yeah. So you just getting to one of them in your 3 max is going to separate yourself. I don't like 3 max personally. I do 20 max or 150. Yeah. But I wouldn't see a problem with getting away from it, but it doesn't seem optimal to avoid it.
3 max to me, it's more about what the prize pool is. But I'm primarily a 20 max and a cash games player. That's typically me. Kevin says, theoretically, 2 to 3 dogs have to win and outscore the winner of the Newsom fight in order for it to not be optimal. Would your best bets to top them be Durden, Padilla, and who else trying to fade it?
It'd have to be Yadong.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and it kind of goes back to when we had that conversation of the fighters underneath 8,000. I mean, Song Yadong, Fernando Padilla, Cody Durden. That would be. I mean, like I hate to roster first fight of the night, and I feel like I've had the worst luck recently rostering the first fight of the night. But I'm kind of looking at. I might start a cash build of Jamey-Lyn, Quinlan, Padilla.
I don't hate it.
And then if I throw Journey Newsom in that, then my last two, I can pick whoever the hell I want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that Jamey-Lyn's in an interesting spot here at 8,300, kind of at that forgotten price tag, mainly from a submission upside or a TKO, especially with Hailey Cowan missing weight. You know that the longer this fight goes, the more drained she's going to be, especially when she's going to be at a technical disadvantage against Jamey-Lyn Horth, who I think is a little bit meaner.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and just to see exactly how much salary I would have left over. If you start a lineup with Jamey, Newsom, Padilla, Quinlan, I got 92.50 for the final two spots.
Grab Caio, and then you're probably going to get Juicy J, right?
No, I already have Fernando Padilla.
Oh, yeah, maybe you'll...
So then you're at 9,000.
Man, you ain't got enough.
You could go Rogerio to Lima. If you want to get to the main event, you get to either one of the main event guys. So, I mean, it does give you a little flexibility. I mean, like, look, in cash, I will not avoid Journey Newsom and Marcus McGhee. I won't do it.
Yeah,
it's, GPPs, it's a different thought process.
You know, if in that same lineup you mentioned, if you didn't go Newson and you went McGhee, you save $100, and then now that 9,000 turns into 9,100, and you could roster Rodolfo Vieira.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If Edgar wins in the first round, will that pay off her salary? Then Samuel says leverage, maybe. We'll see where that the ownership comes in with her. That's a great thought process, though, of thinking about it. And I always say this, when you look at those 9,000 options, who is that 9,000 option that is not getting ownership?
Yeah, I mean, like, I can literally see Alekseeva just kind of bull rushing her, throwing tons of punches. Stephanie Egger going to go to her typical judo toss, and then Alekseeva kind of countering it and crashing forward and just taking her down, whether it's an accident or not. And then you have Egger off of her back, and then she pulls off an armbar from guard. And now she gets the first round victory, doesn't get credit for the takedown, missed the quick win bonus. So now she's probably getting 96 points, 97 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of just thinking outside the box, but I can kind of see in a sloppy fight like that how Egger doesn't pay off that 9,400 price tag.
Of course, we'll see how this all goes down. Of course, we appreciate everyone tuning in here for our preview show for UFC Vegas 72. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button. It really does help. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to do that. We're here every week. Got to get with Pete and see what time we're recording here next week, because I'm back on the road next weekend as my niece graduates college next weekend. So I'm going up there on Friday. And Pete, I went to some college bars last Friday night and Saturday night. Felt really damn old.
I'm sure I would feel old, too.
I also realized that these younger kids, these younger dudes, love to wear some shorts that are like John Stockton style.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, not my scene, brother. Not my scene. So I'm sure I would be like,
the only thing that was different, drinks were so much cheaper.
Oh, yeah, dirt cheap.
Yeah, they were dirt cheap. Yeah, but had a good time. But, of course, next week we got the pay-per-view, so we'll talk about that. And, of course, be sure to join our Discord channel. Links below. Also, be sure to hit that Fight HQ contest over there on DraftKings. It's always a great time over there. I've had a bad run in the Fight HQ contest. I got off to a hot start, and boy, I've gone down the crapper the past couple weeks.
I haven't won a damn thing, so I don't want to hear anything. At least you cashed. I haven't cashed anything.
Exactly, but we appreciate everyone tuning in. Anything you want to leave us with, Pete?
No, at least, I mean, next week seems like it's a better card. More notable names, still some volatile matchups, but, looking forward to some of those fights, especially the main event and co-main event.
And that is going to do it for this edition of Fight HQ. We'll be back next week to break down UFC 288. Of course, you can always check out the show on the podcasting platforms as well. That show will be up here later on today, so appreciate everyone tuning in for this edition of the Fight HQ preview.